Well, first off, I just want to apologize for the wind noise. I know that can be so annoying. We have 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts here today. It is very windy in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure across a lot of the Northeast here. But that wind is the very reason why I'm out here today. I have my X-Bend harness on, have my lineman's rope. I'm going to be ready to climb a tree, but I don't have my bow with me. I'm going to be moving tree stands. If you've been following along with me at all, you know I've been hunting several different stands here on the farm, but over my shoulder here is the water hole, and predominantly that has been the most action, especially with a doe. I hung this set several weeks before the season, and when I set it up here, I was keeping in mind what the action has been in years previously. We have a thicket right here behind me, and that was predominantly where the deer would come from, and I'm set up perfectly for that. But as you can see on my previous hunts, almost all the deer have been coming from the other end of the woods, from another bedding down there, and working their way towards the water hole. Even though they still came to the water hole and they were within 20-30 yards when they were at the water hole, it would be ideal if I was on the opposite side of the water hole and have them walking past me to access the water hole. Maybe it's stubborn or maybe it's lazy, but it's hard once you have a setup here to want to move it. But I find here in the home farm, having these sticks and hang-ons in the tree, it is so simple, so convenient, especially with all my camera equipment. I can just come, climb in, literally 45 seconds I can be up there and hunting. But I can't get too locked in that I think it has to stay at this tree. I'm going to take advantage of this wind today, and I'm going to move it, and I'm going to relocate on the other side of the water hole, maybe 20-30 yards closer to the bedding, and hopefully I'll get a better broadside shot. So I got all the steps and stand pulled down here and loosely thrown together. We're going to make the 50 to 75 yard trek on the other side of the water hole and pick a tree. So here we go, move down here on this side of the water hole. Now the water hole is directly behind me here. I think I'm gonna do this setup. Looks like we got a great big tree and just a wee little one almost within touching distance here. As you go up, there's a fair amount of cover up there. I think I'm gonna hang in this smaller one and have this bigger one kind of blocking me to my back. Not sure I'll be able to see around perfectly for the deer to come, but anytime they get straight out from me and then circle down in front of me here to the water hole, should give me really good back cover. So I'm gonna give it a whirl here and try and hang a stand in it. If you can tell or not, but I am not in the water hole stand this morning. Getting into the water hole stand in the morning can be really difficult. So I'm at another pretty familiar stand, but it's at the opposite end of the farm. Perfect morning to be hunting. We have temperatures about 30, 31 degrees. Good heavy frost. And I'm in a tree stand. That's an awesome way to spend a fall morning, watching the woods come alive. I busted one deer coming in here this morning, and it wasn't but 50 yards from my stand, and I was an hour before daylight. I was slipping in, and there was one deer busted, and that was never a good sign. It was probably a buck, just because it was all by itself, but I've learned long ago not to let that ruin my whole hunt. Doesn't mean it's a total bust. We could definitely be seeing deer here yet this morning. I'm actually expecting that we will, so it's just not a good feeling when one snorts, takes off. You're that close to your stand. But anyway, I'm going to get quiet now and let the sun continue to come up and brighten things up here a bit. At least something's up on its feet. That's the first deer I saw this morning. A small buck of some sort. It was either 4 or 5 point from what I can tell. At least I didn't get skunked, and it's reassuring knowing at least something's out moving. Well, that all happened pretty fast. Man, it's just that time of morning. It's almost 9 o'clock here now, but the sun is just laying in here and just feels good, but boy, it almost blinded me. And just happened to glance out the edge of the woodlot and seeing deer, and I think it was 2 doe. They ended up working past me a little bit, and I didn't think they were going to come in range. And then, for whatever reason, they made a button hook, came right back to me, came right into the woods. Couldn't ask for it to happen any better. She came, kind of moved my camera into my shooting lane where I thought she was going to come to, came to full draw, and when she stepped into it, I had to stop her. Felt like a really good shot. Maybe just a tick lower than what I was aiming, but I think it was a heart shot. That's what it at least felt like. She tore off out of here. I never did hear her crash, so I'm not going to go track her right now. I'm going to give her time. I am going to eventually climb down here and check my arrow and see what kind of blood it has on, but I'll probably end up taking my stuff back to the house and then come back out here and tracking her. I don't think she's going to go real far. Like I said, it felt like a really good hit. So just like that, it all comes together. You can sit in the tree stand for days or weeks on end, have some close calls. I actually had a miss earlier here in the season, but then when it all comes together, she did exactly what I needed her to do. It couldn't have been easier for that deal. So hopefully she'll be an easy find, and I'll have my first doe tag filled and some meat for the freezer and keep my wife happy. So. What's been over an hour now since I shot, maybe an hour and a half, and I actually went back to the house, took a bunch of my gear back, lightened up some of my clothing. I was able to review the shot on the big screen, and it looks like she ducked right into it. Perfect heart shot. So I am very confident she didn't go far, even though I didn't hear it crash. I actually have the stand up over my shoulder here, and I'm right here at the shot. So I can't find my arrow. I think she might have carried it with her for a little bit, but we should be able to find blood. And hopefully she didn't go too far. Well, there is an immediate blood trail, and about 15 yards here I found my arrow busted off. So it's a good sign, and there is lots of blood, so this shouldn't be hard to find. I just found the other part of my arrow. The broadhead did its trick. Hopefully the blood continues as good as it is now, and with the heart shot I see no reason why it wouldn't. So I see white belly laying up here. That was a pretty easy track. Let's go take a look at her. I'm happy it all finally came together. I was able to fill out a tag and put my first doe tag on a doe this season. It's been a long time coming, or at least it felt like it the last couple of weeks. I've had a bunch of close calls. I actually had a miss here about a week ago or a week and a half ago. This morning it finally all came together. I'm going to put my tag on her here, get her legal, and then I'll do a little bit of a recap of this morning's hunt. I wanted to get her in a little bit of light here to do the recap of the hunt. As I had said earlier this morning, getting in the dark, coming to my stand, I wasn't but 50 yards from my stand. I jumped one lone deer, and I'm pretty sure it was a buck just because it was by itself. I could be wrong, but of course in my mind that was what I'm imagining. It snorted and tore off, and it blew a couple more times, and that's never good. Feels like you're scaring everything away from your area. Sat in my stand. It was a beautiful morning, but not a lot of action. Of course, the usual parade of squirrels and what have you. Right around 8 o'clock I saw my first deer, and I just caught a glimpse of it out along the field edge, and it was a buck, small buck. I think it was 4 or 5 point. Had my binoculars on it, but it was behind a lot of trees a lot of the time. He just sort of nosed around for a while, but ended up turning around and going back where he came from. It was about an hour later, right around 9 o'clock, where I caught a glimpse of this doe. I think it was 2 doe. They were out in the field. Kind of went past me. I thought my opportunity was going to be gone. They were way too far out to even be close for a shot. Ended up doing a button hook, coming back around into the woods towards me. Then it all happened pretty quick from there. I was pretty well scrambling to try and get my camera on her. Picked a shooting lane here and was able to come to full draw and stop her as she hit my shooting lane. She stopped perfectly, gave me a shot. She ducked right into my arrow, got a perfect heart shot on her, and she literally didn't go 75, 80 yards. I never did hear her crash, but I could almost see her then within seeing distance on my stand when I actually found her here. So it was just an absolute great morning to be in the woods. It was icing on the cake to be able to put my first tag on a doe here this year. I still have one more doe tag, and of course I have a buck tag here for Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to continue to hunt. This was a fun hunt. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you in the next video.